On the mysterious death of Nolan Wells, we're joined by his parents, Christine and Elmore Wansley, as well as their attorney, Ben Crump. And before we get started, first off, I want to thank you for being here under these circumstances. I know how extremely tough it must be, and we can express how sorry we are for you and your family. And first question, how are you two holding up?
Taking it second by second.
Day by day.
Second by second and day by day, which we all can understand. And I just want to ask you, the friends that Nolan traveled to Horn Island with, they say that he stayed behind voluntarily. Why would he stay behind?
That we cannot answer. I can't fathom why he would. I
don't know why he would. We always taught him to, if you go with a group, you stay with a group. Mm-hmm. Even when he was in college, he would say, "Dad, well, we're gonna ride down to a party or something in another city." Now, so I was out telling him, "Look, if you go with 5, you come back with 5. Do not separate from your group." Because I always said, safety is in numbers. Mm-hmm. And he always said, "Yes, sir." So he knew to stay with his group. So why would he split from his group? I don't know.
So that would have been unusual for him to split from the group. Yeah. And you said he would always check in with you. Did he check in with you that day?
So that day, no, I don't. But of course, too, they were on the boat. And usually when he is out there, which it's not uncommon, he's, I think, since last year, he's been going there occasionally with his friends. And so it would always just be like, "Hey, Mom, I'm back," type of thing. But this time there was no call or text from him. It was from his friend.
And then too, really didn't worry a lot about it because, it was his last weekend to have fun.
Yeah.
Because that Monday he had to report to school. We was preparing to take him back for camp to prepare for the season. So, we're gonna see. He wanted to have his last little hurrah before he locked down and get ready for the season. Because, like I said, the entire summer he's training. He got more serious. He started to understand what I was trying to tell him about football, not just being fun, but as you get farther in it, it becomes a business. If you want to excel, and you have to understand, and you have to understand both at the same time.
And we know, Ben, that you said that you're going to do an independent investigation.
Yes.
And you say you have Nolan's cell phone and messages were deleted. How could you tell messages were deleted?
Well, his parents got the phone back, and that's something that's important, Michael, because they tracked this phone on Life 360.
So Life 360, but when I received the phone call from Warren, I immediately called my friend Tashima, and I said, "Hey, have you guys seen Nolan?" Because her 2 sons, Jalen and Javon, they grew up together. They played City League sports together. When they got into school, they played sports together. And so she was like, "Hey, okay," the boys were pulling up the location from Snapchat. So the Snapchat location looks completely different than the Life 360 location. So when I pulled up Life 360, it was different. It was showing everywhere the phone had been. I was like, "Well, it's showing that he's back on land. I'm not." He's like, "But no, he didn't come back with us."
Well, how were you able to get the phone?
So we tracked it, and my friend Tashima went and picked it up.
It wasn't like they said, "We got his phone." They tracked it, and that highlights all these contradictions, Michael. The fact that they said Nolan was talking to a young woman, and she said that he said, "I'm going back to get on the boat with the boys." The boys said that he said he was going to stay with her. And so that's an obvious contradiction. And then this video of this, you can hear an argument going where Nolan is saying, "Give me my freaking phone. What are you freaking doing?" And so then his phone ends up missing. I don't know any teenagers, Michael Strahan, who says, if you believe their story, I'm gonna stay behind and I'm gonna leave my phone. I mean, no young person leaves their cell phone. And so then there's so many things their parents were telling us about, even why didn't his body wash up with the tide on Sunday? Why would it come on Monday? It's not adding up. And that is the problem when you think about the history of Mississippi.
Yeah, so there's so many questions that need to be answered. And is there anything you'd like people to know about Nolan? What would you like them to know about your son?
No,
It's okay.
Nolan, take your time. Nolan was very loving. He was liked by all. It was not a friend that he couldn't make.
No, we'll be right back with more for the parents of Nolan Wells and attorney Ben Crump. We're back now on GMA with the parents of Nolan Wells, Christina and Elmore Wansley. And I want you to please continue to tell us what you want the world to know about your son.
So Nolan was just like this bright light, right? Walk into a room, his smile, his energy was just so infectious. Like it's almost like he drew you into him. And he was just one of those people, like he always wanted everyone to be included. He didn't want anyone to feel left out. I remember one of his teachers emailing us. I can't remember what grade he was in, but basically it was math class. They had a special needs student, and she asked a question, and Nolan got everyone to put their hands down because he wanted that student to answer. And so student answers the question, and she was like, Christine, the classroom, Nolan went crazy, and everyone else started going crazy, just celebrating that child. Making them feel included. And that was the person he was. Like he loved everyone. And I always told Nolan, like, you know, you have to be careful when you have such a big heart like that. I love that God blessed you with that, but you have to be careful with that because, you know, that it's not always returned, that type of love. But he was just genuinely a good person. Like I always say, all the best parts of me are with him.
And Dad, anything else you want to add?
It's just, he's gonna be really missed. I know a lot of his teammates, they all looked at him as a leader. He's more like a silent leader. Not real big on words, more on action, which is kind of like I was. I really wasn't real big on talking. I really wanted to show you and you follow me, and people followed him. And it's gravitated. He put in the work, he worked hard, and he knew he was focused on what he wanted. And he wanted to make life better for, you know, his family. He wanted to have his own family. He used to say, Dad, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. I said, well, son, you got to take it one step at a time. Slow down, let's go, let's walk this thing out. You know, let's train, let's sign our deals, let's make these teams, make these camps, put the work in, and everything else will work out. Even his baby brother, their bond got even stronger because now I have a big brother that he's finna do something, so now I want to outdo that. So his focus and his confidence has got even better. So I was looking forward to both of them having outstanding years.
Seasons,
He seemed like he inspired in the home and he inspired outside of the home. And Attorney Crump, where do we go from here? What's next?
Well, the deleted messages that Christina was going to briefly touch on, we want to get the phone and figure that out.
Backtrack on that. When we finally got his phone, me and my sister went through the phone. We went in his Snapchat. He had 2 accounts, absolutely nothing. It wasn't even 24 hours, which is how long videos and pictures stay in Snapchat. And I was just like, that can't be. Like, I've seen Nolan whenever he snaps, like when he goes and he's having fun, like he does videos, like there was absolutely nothing, no saved videos. And even my sister was like, yeah, that's suspicious,
Michael,
you know.
We're having an independent autopsy done at the behest of his family. Colin Kaepernick helped pay for the independent autopsy. We flew his body up from Mississippi to D.C. because they wanted an autopsy done.
There was a meeting. Weeks into this investigation, 2 women sat across from each other in a room. No cameras, no attorneys directing the conversation. no intermediaries filtering what was said. One of them is the mother of an 18-year-old who never came home. The other was the last person to see him alive, and for the first time since July 4th, she spoke. But what she said didn't close anything. It opened something. For weeks, Katie's account of what happened on Horn Island existed only in fragments. A family friend spoke on her behalf. Then her mother and sister began posting online, trying to get ahead of a narrative that was already spinning out of control. Christine Wansley never heard any of it directly. She heard versions, filtered versions. Then, weeks after her son's body was recovered from the waters off Horn Island, Christine sat across from Katie, face to face, no filter between them. Katie told her this. She and Nolan spent time together that afternoon on the island. At some point, they parted ways. She boarded a separate boat back to the mainland with her own group, and based on what Nolan told her before she left, she believed he was heading back to his friends. She did not watch him walk back to that group. She did not watch him board any boat, she assumed. Nolan's friend Tresiston Shepherd, speaking on Good Morning America, filled in some of what came before that moment. He said Nolan had genuinely liked Katie. That afternoon on the island was the first time the two of them had ever spent real time together. In Shepherd's own words, he really did like her. That was the only time they'd ever hung out. Nolan had reasons to stay a little longer. He had reasons to linger. And according to Katie, he told her he was going back. So here is what the record shows. The friends said Nolan chose to stay behind after the group prepared to leave. Katie said Nolan told her he was heading back to his friends before she left. Those two accounts are not a direct contradiction. What they describe, placed side by side, is a window between the moment Katie turned and walked away and the moment that boat pulled away from the island without him. Something happened inside that window, and nobody, not Katie, not his friends, not investigators, has closed it. When Christine finally got Nolan's phone, she didn't receive it through any official channel. She tracked it. Life 360 showed the device had made it back to the mainland, to Biloxi. A woman named Tashema Hands drove to the location the app was showing. The phone was at a house with a large number of people gathered inside. Hands retrieved it and brought it back to the family. That alone raised questions, but what Christine found when she opened that phone raised different ones entirely. Life 360 and Snapchat, two separate apps, both running on the same device, showed different location histories for that same phone. Two apps, one phone, two completely different accounts of where it had been. Then Christine and her sister went through the Snapchat. Both accounts connected to that phone. The content was gone, completely. No videos, no photos, nothing from that day. Snapchat content holds for 24 hours. It had not even been that long. Christine said it plainly. I know my child. If he has a phone, he's recording. That was not a statement made in emotion. That was a mother, speaking from 19 years of knowing exactly how her son moved through the world. Nolan Wells, on the most meaningful afternoon of his summer, with a phone in his hand, and not a single piece of content left from that day. Ben Crump, the family's attorney, confirmed what comes next. His independent investigators and Jackson County law enforcement will conduct a coordinated review of that phone. Both sides, in the same room, examining the same device at the same time. That level of coordination for a phone review does not happen when there is nothing on that device worth finding. That phone detail, two apps, one device, Two completely different location histories. Drop your thoughts in the comments right now. The more this case stays active in the comments section, the more YouTube puts it in front of people who need to see it. And if you are not subscribed yet, do that now. This case is moving, and it is moving fast. 4 teenagers left for Horn Island on the morning of July 4th. One boat brought them out. That same boat came back with 3. What happened after that return trip is now part of the documented record, pulled from GPS data obtained through Mississippi's Department of Marine Resources. The boat did not go directly to shore and stop. It completed a full route, back to the original dock, into Fort Bayou, back to the dock again, to the Fort Bayou boat launch, then overland, to a home in Biloxi. That is not someone in shock trying to figure out what to do next. That is a multi-stop return journey, completed in full before a single call for help was placed. A friend of Nolan's made contact with the United States Coast Guard around 11 o'clock that night, nearly 7 hours after the boat had already left the island without him. The Jackson County Sheriff's Office did not formally request Coast Guard assistance until noon the following day, July 5th. That is 13 hours between the first contact made with the Coast Guard and the launch of a full, coordinated, multi-agency search. No official explanation for that 13-hour window has ever been provided to the public. Sheriff Ledbetter has confirmed that approximately 60 witnesses have now been interviewed in connection with this case, including the 3 teenagers who were on that boat, in depth. The route is on record. The timeline is on record. The silence sitting in the middle of both. That has never been explained. While investigators stayed quiet in those early days, something else moved fast. 2 separate pieces of content spread across social media in the aftermath of July 4th, and both of them were wrong. Not accidentally wrong. Wrong in ways that directly shaped how the public understood this case at the exact moment it was still unfolding. The first was a photograph. It spread with a clear implication attached to it, that Nolan had been seen alive and well after July 4th. People pointed to it as evidence. It moved quickly. Rolling Stone investigated the image using its own embedded metadata. The photograph was taken on June 27th, a full week before Nolan ever set foot on Horn Island. Trayston Shepard confirmed that finding on the record. The second was an audio clip, a voice, heard in what sounded like a heated exchange, demanding a phone back. Thousands of people following this case closely believed they were listening to Nolan. Shepard sat in front of a camera and addressed it directly. He said, "That's me yelling. That is my voice." Javon Williams confirmed the same account. Both pieces of content, wrong. Both spread within hours. Both shaped what the public believed for days before a single correction reached the same audience. Here is what matters about that pattern. Every time official investigators went silent, and they went silent often and for extended stretches, something unverified filled that space almost immediately. And what filled it, consistently, pointed attention away from the questions that have never been answered. Christine Wansley publicly asked people to stop. Ben Crump addressed the AI-generated videos falsely depicting Christine directly, calling them what they were, and describing exactly what they cost a family already carrying more weight than any family should be asked to carry. The misinformation did not stop at 2 incidents. The pattern held, and the question it leaves behind is the one that connects directly to what the federal government confirmed this week. A sitting judge said her family is living under threat because of this case. Let that settle for a moment. Jackson County Chancery Judge Ashley Cole is the stepmother of one of the 3 teenagers who was on that boat with Nolan on July 4th. She did not make a passing comment. She did not speak through a representative. She went on the record, publicly and directly, and confirmed that her family has received threats connected to this investigation. Threats serious enough, specific enough, that she felt the public needed to know. She was not the only one. Treston Shepard, a young man who grew up alongside Nolan, who has cooperated with media, who has spoken on camera, confirmed he has been threatened as well. Others connected to Nolan have been threatened. This is not speculation pulled from social media. These are on-the-record confirmations from real people operating under real pressure. Ben Crump addressed it without softening a single word. Every threat sent to someone connected to this case, he said, makes it less likely that anyone still holding information feels safe enough to come forward with it. Think about the weight of that. If someone out there knows something they haven't said yet, and they are watching a judge confirm that her family is afraid, watching a teenager say he's been threatened for simply being connected to Nolan, what does that do to the chance that person ever speaks? Threatening the people around this investigation is not a show of force. It is a direct attack on the possibility of answers. And it is the documented reason federal involvement in this case escalated to the level it did. For weeks, references to federal assistance floated through media coverage of this case with no official shape attached to them. Fragments. Suggestions. Nothing confirmed on paper, nothing confirmed on record. Then this week, the FBI's Jackson Field office released a full, formal statement, the first complete, official account of federal involvement since this investigation began. It confirms 2 things specifically. The FBI is assisting with the forensic examination of digital evidence, and the FBI is investigating interstate threats received by individuals connected to this case. The Jackson County Sheriff's Office leads this investigation. That is stated clearly in the federal statement. The FBI assists. That is the official structure. Sheriff Ledbetter separately addressed why federal land jurisdiction was never unusual in this context. Horn Island is federal land. That designation meant FBI involvement was available from the beginning, not triggered by anything suspicious, simply built into the geography of where this happened. But now read the statement again with that context in place, and pay attention to what it does not say. It does not name who received the threats. It does not describe what those threats contained. It does not specify what the digital evidence review has produced, or where that review currently stands. A federal agency, with full resources and full authority, released a carefully constructed statement that confirms their presence while revealing almost nothing about what that presence has uncovered. That is not an oversight. That is a choice. And in a federal investigation, that kind of choice is always deliberate. The phone is under joint forensic review. The threats are under federal investigation. And the next formal step in this case, the one that will determine whether anyone is ever held accountable, is already in motion. Subscribe right now if you are not already. Both autopsy results are still pending, and the grand jury process has not started yet. The moment either of those developments breaks, this channel covers it immediately. YouTube only notifies subscribers. If you are not subscribed, that update will not find you. Following a meeting on July 15th between Christine and Elmore Wansley, Ben Crump, and District Attorney Angel Myers McElrath, one thing was confirmed. When the investigation concludes, the findings will be presented to a grand jury. That announcement spread online as a turning point, a breakthrough. progress. It is worth being precise about what it actually is. A grand jury is not a trial. It is not a verdict. It is a panel of citizens who review the evidence gathered by investigators and answer one question: is there enough here to move forward with formal charges? That is the threshold. Not guilt, not conviction, just whether the case crosses the line that justifies charging someone. Local attorneys familiar with Jackson County procedure have noted that this referral is described as standard practice for any death officially classified as unnatural. The referral itself does not confirm that foul play occurred. It confirms that the case is being processed through the system the way any case of this nature would be. Former Judge Carlos Moore has publicly pushed back on that framing. He cited concerns about this specific prosecutor's office, concerns rooted in a separate, unrelated past case, and stated directly that he is not convinced this referral represents the progress it is being presented as. Two attorneys, the same announcement, two completely different readings of what it means. What determines the outcome of that grand jury is not the referral itself. It is not the press conference that followed. It is the evidence, specifically the medical evidence. And that evidence is sitting in two separate laboratories right now, still waiting on results. The Mississippi State Medical Examiner's Office conducted the official autopsy on July 7th, 3 days after Nolan's body was recovered. That was over 3 weeks ago. Results are pending toxicology screening, which is processed through outside laboratories. Timelines for those results are not fixed. They can take weeks. Under certain conditions, significantly longer. Ben Crump's team arranged a second, independent autopsy. The decision was deliberate. The family did not trust that a Mississippi-based examination, connected however loosely to Mississippi law enforcement infrastructure, could produce findings that were fully beyond question. So Nolan's body was transported from Mississippi to Washington, D.C., so that a medical examiner with zero prior relationship to any Mississippi agency could conduct a completely separate examination. Former NFL quarterback Colin Kaepernick helped fund that process. The examiner selected had no prior connection to this case, to this county, or to any agency involved in the investigation. A flight delay pushed the Washington, D.C. autopsy back by several days. As of this video, neither set of results has been made public. That means Christine and Elmore Wansley walked into Centerpoint Church in Ocean Springs, Mississippi, on the morning of July 20th, and they buried their son, with no confirmed cause of death, no confirmed manner of death, and no official answer for what happened to him between the moment Katie turned and walked away and the moment that boat docked without him. The visitation ran from 9 in the morning until 11. The service followed immediately after. Reverend Al Sharpton officiated. Tyler Perry covered every cost associated with the funeral, without being asked, without condition. The Mississippi Coast Coliseum had offered its venue. The board voted to approve it. The family chose Centerpoint. The Coliseum's executive director released a public statement of support regardless. And through all of it, through the eulogies, through the people who came, through every word spoken over Nolan that morning, his parents sat in the front row without an answer. 47 days had passed since July 4th. 2 autopsies had been conducted on their son's body, and not one official finding had been placed in their hands. That is not a dramatic way to end a chapter. That is exactly, factually, specifically where this case stands. What is confirmed? The FBI is formally on record. Katie spoke directly to Christine, and her account is an assumed intention, not a confirmed eyewitness observation. A sitting judge confirmed her family has been threatened. A close friend of Nolan's confirmed the same. A grand jury will eventually see this evidence. 2 autopsies are pending. What remains open? The 13-hour gap between first Coast Guard contact and a full search launch. The discrepancy between 2 location apps on the same phone. The empty Snapchat history from the most active day of Nolan's summer. What happened in the window between Katie's last words to him and the moment that boat left the island? Cause of death. Manner of death. When those autopsy results come back, and they will, and when the grand jury process begins, the shape of this entire case changes. Every open question either finds a direction or gets harder to explain. We will be here when that happens. Nolan Wells was 18 years old. He had a family that knew exactly who he was. And right now, that family is waiting, the same way they have been waiting since July 4th, for someone to finally tell them the truth. If this update gave you real clarity on where this case actually stands, share it. One share puts Nolan's name in front of someone who has never heard it. That is how cases like this one stay in the conversation long after the headlines move on.